Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. It is Seiko Starcraft bringing you a pro replay. This one has, up at the top, JonnyREcco up against Dimaga. I haven't seen a lot of Dimaga in a while here. And it's also a ZvZ. Do enjoy a little bit of the mirror matchups once in a while. And as a ZvZ on this funky map, I'm kind of interested to see what kind of play we have. This map for Zerg is very interesting because there's just like a handful of really good attacker routes that you'd commonly get to use, but expansion-wise, it doesn't have a ton of bases. So I'm interested to see this replay because it's a bit of a longer game, and I think we're going to see something a little bit funkier out of that as you know, you starve a little bit more for expansions as a Zerg player. Unless he goes low econ, that's also fun. So we'll see what kind of builds we open up with here. We're not seeing any 9 pools yet. There's still time for a 12 pool, but I'm thinking that we're going to see either pools first or hatches first here on 14 or 15. Just because that's common, that's standard, that's the way it goes. Yes, caffeine will keep me going. It's also Taco Tuesday night tonight, so I'm gonna go out and get wasted on cheap tacos. Yes. And anybody making a decision yet? Are they both going to go pool first? I almost never see that. Well, there's a pool first. I was going to say, it's much more common that at least one person feels a little bit insecure about themselves as an individual and goes for the pool first. Hatch from JonnyREcco. He's confident. He knows what's going on. So it's actually going to be a 15 hatch, a 15-16 pool. Really, really interesting. Quite on the confident side, are we? And down comes the hatchery for Dimaga. It's interesting just watching the bubbles kind of move across the map slowly as this game opens up here. So we're not going to see a divergence yet. We'll have a gas first here out of JonnyREcco. This map it's possible if you get the creep to go for just the roach opening, wall it off if you can last long enough to do that. I'm fascinated when I watch players like Hyun go for ZvZ and can find ways to completely skip Zergling speed and Banelings. It's just so difficult. And the gas is being taken. Gasless still on Dimaga's side here, so he is going to have to either rely on maybe a spine crawler or some extra queens. Not having speed against somebody that does have speed puts you at a pretty big disadvantage when it comes even to defending, let alone having any type of pressure you wish to put on. We'll come up here and scout the gas, and we'll run out of there before queen can shoot at anything. And the second queen is started there. Hit the inject and go for a run, hustle it down that ramp. I don't know, I'm still such a big advocate of dropping one creep tumor with my first queen and then running down. Because it's very difficult to even spend on the larvae you have with an inject anyways with a second hatch coming up. That it's sometimes a good time to use that creep tumor as you're not really into your full production usage yet. But you don't see pro people do that, so that's likely why I'm not as good at playing Zerg. This Overlord over here, it's kind of in a vulnerable spot. You want it there in the early game to see if any Zerglings are really playing around, but at some point you want to start backing that up because a couple of queens can run it down and shoot it in the face with spines. A couple of Zerglings going to come in here to scout. Should be able to get in alright. Looks like he's prepared. Yeah, he will be able to deny those scouts. Double gas happening over here, but it's quite delayed. We saw that JonnyREcco stayed on gas with his first drones there, so he'll have his speed finished really soon. Baneling nest almost finished. So if he does wish to go for pressure, he can, or he may just get a couple of defensive banelings just to be sure. We'll see if either of these guys are going to be ballsy enough to go for a third hatch here soon. Having speed gives you a lot more flexibility to kind of get that macro up sooner. Units-wise, we see that Dimaga's got a small lead on workers. He is going to try to get a bit of a wall off here with roaches and might just try to skip his Zergling speed and Banelings altogether. He's going to be a little fortunate in doing that. We'll be able to get one more Evo chamber. We should be able to control this just fine. Pretty funky, actually. We see the other 3 gases being taken on this side, so we might see a 2-base Muta play as the lair morphs in. There is no lair tech on the way just yet from Dimaga, so he's decided to forfeit some of his tech and just kind of skip over the tier 1 stuff. No, now he's getting his speed. Meh. Not everybody can be as cool as Hyun. These queens Well, now that one's lagging behind, I'm sure that this Overlord will get away just fine. Almost going to get caught, but the creep is spread well enough for him to be able to do this. If he comes up here and scouts this wall off, is he going to be able to get that queen? I don't know. It's not that many Zerglings here. No panicking right now out of Dimaga. He's got larvae, and you see him not spitting out a whole bunch of roaches or Zerglings, keeping pretty confident and calm in his units, even seeing these Zerglings out here, not in a panic. Getting an Overseer to kill off creep is sometimes nice to do as well, just limiting your opponent's mobility out of his base. Double upgrades happening on this side. Don't have any upgrades at all happening out of JonnyREcco, who's instead going for a Spire on 2 bases. That should allow him to expand, though we're going to see that Dimaga scouts that completely. Looks like he did kill off those creep tumors, just as I had mentioned. Should see the Roach Warren and these things making upgrades. I wonder if we're just going to see a big Roach push potentially of Dimaga. We see some Zerglings coming in. His speed is finished up here, but his +1 Carapace is a long ways off, so it's not like it's going to make too big of a difference for him. Will control the front of his base, though. More and more Zerglings pouring out, and a Baneling was morphing somewhere. Pretty good control here from JonnyREcco, just controlling multiple different groups of Zerglings. There's the 1 Baneling, 3 Banelings, 4. Now it's going to be about control. What JonnyREcco really wants to do is get a cancel on this. Banelings, oh, he didn't pull off the manual detonate in the right time. Hit it. They'll actually take out 2 queens. This 1 Baneling, great control. Just microing that 1 Baneling around without it detonating on something useless. And even gets that 1 drone kill. 4 Mutalisks on the way. I'm very surprised with this Roach one being completed and his upgrades for ranged attack that Dimaga didn't make any Roaches. He's going right for Infestors. Very interesting. It's cool, but I mean your infested Terrans don't get any benefit from upgrades anymore. Trying to get a few little kills here. We can see the Evo Chambers now going down for JonnyREcco, so we'll get those upgrades started. He's actually getting his ranged upgrades as well, because he's going to be moving into Roaches after he uses his little bit of Mutas just to try to take out any Overlords that he can find. Creep has been denied once again. He's not committing too big into these Mulisks here. Just enough to really give him map control. He's looking for any other Overlords. But now that he's got this base in place here, some Banelings are morphing. Pretty good run by here. The Queen's in a great position actually, so won't get focused down. It might eventually get killed off, but not at a very cost-effective rate. Dimaga gets pushed back. Units-wise, we can see a good little lead in workers here for JonnyREcco. Pretty big supply lead, but these Infestors are pretty nifty. We'll see if they can get the chain fungals that they want. Gotta be very careful. Costing quite a bit of fungals to take out only a couple of mutas there. Spore Crawler on the high ground just rolls through any of those. Just a couple of... Well, actually, he's committed into a handful of spores here, just to make sure. Sometimes when Zergs go for these Mutalisks, they go for tons and tons and tons of Mutalisks. In this case, we see Dimaga unbelievably supply blocked. But we see that it's more focused on getting out these Roaches. His upgrades are going to be finished here pretty quick. Just numbers-wise, there's a bit of fear inside of Dimaga right now, so we see a lot of static defenses going down. They're not going to be finished in time for this Roach attack. Lots of Zerglings in place. Good fungals. Going to lock down and get a little bit of extra damage in. He's actually taking out a few workers in the background of this as well. I'm sure that Dimaga will clean this up. It's just whether or not nice pickoffs on these Infestors. It'd be nice to see him focus fire down the Infestors, just because that is the only real advantage I see out of Dimaga at this moment. Upgrades wise, he is going to have his +2 finished a lot sooner for his armor. That's taking a supply lead, but in the worker count, he's down by almost 20. So we'll see if he can turn around to any advantage right now. The longer he waits, I think the harder it's going to be. JonnyREcco has not had to invest in static defenses. He hasn't gotten out any of the infestors, just going into heavy roach production. His upgrades are trucking along, and I believe he did get his Hydralisk Den down as well. 2-2 finished up. 1-1 only. 2-2 will be done here fairly soon, along with the grooved spines for his Hydralisks. Time is really on JonnyREcco's side here. His upgrades are behind, so the longer he waits, the better he'll be. And he's also going to be able to move out to another base more safely here. Do like the infestors. They're a little bit of just an extra opportunity for him to maybe pull off a great engagement. As I said before, this map has these little channels through it. So concaves are much more difficult for Zerg players to take. You're going to want to see JonnyREcco taking a more open ground. Otherwise, the fungals and the concaves are going to favor the defender a lot more. Roach speed on the way. Some Hydras now coming up from Dimaga, just a splash of them. This base is going to be finished up pretty quick, and you'll take it to gas. Kind of a no-touch moment here. Creep spread happening out of one player, not so much out of the other. I'm sure he doesn't care as much once his speed is finished. Big wave of Hydras coming down. More static defenses in place. Just to deal with run-bys, you can see him really hunkering down. Dimaga likely knows he's pretty far behind right now, and JonnyREcco is about to max out. And as his 2-2 finishes up, he's going to have a good window of timing to attack. Hive is on the way right now for Dimaga, so he might be able to get himself a big lead in the overall upgrades if he can get that down a lot earlier than his opponent. Split up here of the units. This is a really difficult spot to attack. Huge concave. Upgrades are finished. Nice fungals on one side. Supplies from both players are dropping, but JonnyREcco, I don't know if this is the best engagement with all these spine crawlers, or really the big difference here. Hydras in the back, great fungals on all these Hydras. And JonnyREcco got smashed on that attack. I'm sure because he's he's maxed out, you feel like you have to attack. You've got the max out. But I don't know what his next big move is going to be. When you have that much map control and that much opportunity, I wonder if there would have been a better plan for him. Like maybe if he scouted, he might have been able to come in on this side. But once again, really tight engagement point. Dimaga 3-3 started up well ahead of his opponent that doesn't even have Hive Tech on the way. JonnyREcco a little bit in recovery mode, getting out a handful of more workers just because he's going to be throwing down some static defenses himself. JonnyREcco does have this other base in place with a few static defenses, but this is kind of just a funky stalemate spot. I'm kind of surprised to see neither of them venturing past Roach Hydrotech. With those upgrades, you'd think with a map this small and with these channels, you might even be able to get out even something as funky as some swarm hosts, maybe. I don't see a lot of swarm hosts at really high level ZvZ. I've heard about it as being unbelievably boring and back and forth. But it is something that might just be able to take a bit of an advantage just because of all the free units. Zerg is a pretty mobile race though, so it's pretty easy to just run past those. I'm not worried about it as much. Burrow might have even been a cool thing for both of these players to get, particularly as we see him like Dimaga starting to get up a pretty big bank as he maxes out. Just be able to get your roaches a little bit of regen between battles. JonnyREcco is a long ways off maxed right now, focusing on his tech. He's even getting out melee upgrades. His Hive is about to finish up. I'd like to think that Dimaga is in a pretty good position just because of this bank as well. If he does take a really awful trade, or at least an even trade, he should be in a pretty good spot. Blinding Cloud is pretty cool, actually. I'd like to see the Vipers come out. If we can get down to some Blinding Clouds and some really, really big bunches of units, hit them with a Fungal, hit them with a Blinding Cloud, you essentially have a pile of stationary units that can't do anything. And Dimaga's even gone super max as he's gone down extra static defenses and canceled them. Greater Spire. Broodlords could be pretty fun. Broodlord Fungal is a funky mix as well to use against this. We see JonnyREcco has stayed away from getting maxed out just because of his dedication to go into higher Spire attack. Dimaga is giving him a bit of an opportunity. His 3-3 is about to finish up, so I would like him to go put some pressure on, you know? Go and attack one of these bases, put out some scouts at least to see if there is any type of extra expansions, just because JonnyREcco hasn't gone for his remax, and we'll see that he will be trying to remax with Broodlords here pretty quick. Let's see if Dimaga now has a little bit of confidence to push out. A good chunk of army for JonnyREcco is out of position, and these Broodlords will not be finished in time if this army attacks now. If he goes after this base, I'm sure JonnyREcco will be fine with that, because that should just give him a good opportunity to get out his Broodlords, and I'd actually rather see him commit later. Like, just delay this attack, let him worry about these spines, and wait for your Broodlord tech to come out. Because if he goes and attacks now with this smaller amount of army, I don't think he's going to be able to live. Not the best fungal right there. Those ones were a little bit better. Whoa! Snags the infestors. That was pretty funky. Really, really good fungals out of JonnyREcco. I see Dimaga's supplies taking a whooping. A whooping there. Wow, amazing fungals on the Hydras. Huge roach remax. Look at all the... Well, it's not a remax. Look at all those roaches being made. Base does go down here. Roaches are going to take a lot of the economy in the back. Both these players still have a huge max. This base did not get hit. And now we have a huge fleet. This is a fleet, by the way. Of Broodlords coming out here. These roaches cannot shoot up. Some more infestors would be really nice, just to lock down this roach play. Shoot him in the face. Sending a couple of roaches down here. Trying to make some corruptors, but that's not really going to work out for him. I mean, there's not a lot of Hydras in place right now for our purple Zerg player. There might be a bit of a roach run by, but there's already been the rocks taken out here and a good chunk of units still in position. That one hatch does get sniped. These roaches are essentially trapped in here now, though. Bad fungal shot. Pretty good grouping here out of Dimaga. These fungals are doing work. And as the Broodlords come in from behind, he's got to try to run past the Broodlords while still getting shot in the face by all the roaches and Hydras. And one Spinecrawler going to have a bit of fun in the background here. We even have more Corruptors out. Dimaga's down by like so much supply. These Spinecrawlers are not going to get touched. And now none of these players have any bank, but JonnyREcco is essentially maxed. Doesn't really want to lose those expensive Broodlords. Lots of Corruptors out right now. A Spore Crawler would have been really nice. Once again, dealing those extra pieces of damage. Few guys on the ground doing a little bit of damage. Queen's in place, trying to keep stuff alive. And this huge roach pile here should be able to take care of that. He's got to watch out. There's the GG and the good luck. Really interesting game there. I have not seen too many late game ZvZs like this. And even though I can appreciate a lot of the moves Dimaga made in that game, I think he lost a huge opportunity at about the 18-minute mark to go and do damage before those Broodlords are out. Maybe a bit more scouting, a little bit more harassment, and he might have been able to get in there and kill that before that transition happened. Regardless, cool game. Sego Starcraft. Thanks, everybody. Talk to you later.